Tabitha is here. She joins us now in studio.
Tabitha, you were at the Farmers Insurance Open when all the news broke yesterday. Tell me about the mood. What happened?
Well, what's really interesting is, you know, on the South Course, as you kind of get further out on the greens, cell service isn't very good. So news kind of spread slowly, but it did spread. And as people got wind of what had happened, it was quite somber. You know, where you normally heard people cheering and laughing and drinking and having a good time, the tone totally changed. And I was out there looking for people to talk to kind of get the reaction. And normally I don't really have a hard time with it, but in this instance, people, they weren't really sure what to say, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's such a, like you said, everybody's there to have a good time. It's the final round of the Farmers Insurance. Everybody's been looking forward to that. And all of a sudden, it's just palpable. You just feel the energy changes, the mood changes, even for the players, right?
Yeah, and the big thing was, you know, Tiger Woods was chasing his 83rd PGA Tour victory. Right. So everyone was kind of hoping maybe that he would break away from the pack and that would be the day. Yeah. But it certainly didn't feel like it.
Is it true that his caddy didn't tell him until a certain point?
Yeah.
How did that go down?
So we didn't know that he didn't know until he came off the green and he said something.
Until he was
done?
So
we assumed that at some point his caddy may have said something. While he was out there, he kept hearing people say, "Do it for Mamba." And he didn't know what that meant, but his caddy didn't want to distract him from the round.
Yeah, I was reading that he was explaining that he just kept looking up, saying, "What are they saying?"
And he was, because people shout things all the time. They shout ridiculous things. So I think they just kind of brushed it off as like, oh, you know, don't worry about it.
Yeah. You talked to Tiger, asked him some questions afterwards, or?
I did. We did as a media group. In fact, he had just learned of it. He went straight to CBS because they covered the event. Amanda Balionis had to be the one to ask and say, hey, you know, you just got this news. How do you feel? He expressed how he felt to her, and then he came over to the media, and here's what he said to us.
I just heard of it from Joey. We're coming off at 18 green. Didn't understand why they were yelling at "Do it for Mamba" on the back nine. It didn't, you know, people yell things all the time, and so I was just, you know, plodding along, doing my own thing. And then when Joey told me that it's unbelievable, the reality that he's no longer here. We're very similar. We both came in the league. Well, he came in the league, and I turned pro around at the same time, and we had our 20-year run together, and it's shocking.
I mean, it's a tragedy. He's one of the greatest, not only just greatest Lakers of all time, but he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I think he really kind of inspired like the post-Jordan era. Like he was that player that led to LeBron James and greatness. So thoughts to his family. It's really sad.
It didn't seem real, you know. It's just, I mean, you have this big event going on and you're looking at all the different outlets. I'm checking CNN, I'm checking MSNBC. I'm like, is this really happening? It just, I don't know, it doesn't seem real.
I was in shock. I grew up with Kobe. My later years grew up with Kobe and the Lakers. And to hear that, it's just, I'm still in shock, really. Especially to hear that he was with his daughter.
And we know that Kobe Bryant obviously was in his second act. He was doing not only a lot of charity work, he was working with a lot of youth basketball. And I know a lot of people are taking this really hard, but he also was a champion for women's sports. And he was really involved in the WNBA. I covered the Sparks several times, and he was someone who really pushed for equal rights in women's sports. And so real tragedy to lose him.
Yeah, and Tiger had mentioned that for his daughter, for Gigi, who wanted to play at UConn, one of the best women's basketball programs in the land, and then eventually play it for the WNBA. That was her dream and her goal.
I was listening to a podcast on my way in today that he just recorded maybe 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about how his daughter Gigi motivated him to do this. When you say his second act, so much of what he was doing now was for his girls.
Yeah, I mean, he had 4 girls. One is 7 months old, and the other part of that is there's an interview that's been going around about him where, you know, someone kind of is talking to him about when are you gonna have a boy, who's gonna carry on your legacy, and Gigi's like, I got this, don't you worry about that. So good memories there. I'm sure you have many memories too, Raoul.
I mean, it's just 20 years since the draft in '96 and the big trade that got, and then, but for some reason, aside from the championships and all the success, it was telling of Kobe. For some reason always remember the 1998 playoffs and Kobe Bryant was probably 17 or 18 years old, and he clanked every single shot in that game. The Lakers, I think, got swept out of the playoffs that year, and Kobe's eyes that day, there was a look of determination of and this was a kid back then.
Yeah, right out of high
He
school.
knew greatness was coming, and something about it, as a Laker fan, you knew this is fine. This was a learning moment for Kobe, and then what happened after that, obviously, is history.
Legendary.
But just, it's tragic. Yeah. It really is. Tabitha, thank you. Appreciate the time. Thank you.